All right, so picture this. You're a ship captain, but instead of a detailed map, you've got this compass, and it's pointing towards digital transformation. And, well, today's deep dive is all about how to chart a course through these uncharted waters. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We're diving into this article from Continuous Improvement called Navigating Uncertainty in Digital Transformation.
Right.
And it's got all these strategies and insights to make sense of all the moving parts.
Yeah. What really strikes me about this article is how it frames digital transformation as, like, not even an option anymore. You know,
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, trying to keep up with the competition now.
Oh, definitely.
It's straight up about surviving in this crazy, fast-changing world.
Yeah, it's like adapt or get left behind, right?
Exactly.
And this article really hammers home that point.
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, slapping on some new tech and calling it a day, you know?
Oh, totally.
There's this whole strategic layer to it that we got to, like, unpack.
You got it. They really emphasize the need for a clear vision and alignment right from the start.
Right.
They even suggest starting with a strategic alignment workshop where all the leaders get together, you know, and they hammer out these objectives that actually, like, mesh with the company's big picture strategy.
So it's like before we even start building the ship, we got to agree on where we're sailing to.
Exactly.
And why we're going there.
100%.
I see the article mentions these tools like the business model canvas and the balanced scorecard model.
Right.
What's the point of those in this starting phase?
Those are really good for visualizing and, like, validating that alignment we're talking about, you know?
Okay.
Like, take the business model canvas, for example.
Yeah.
It helps you map out all the key parts of your business model, like your value proposition, your customer relationships, and all your revenue streams.
Yeah.
And by using it, you know, like in the context of digital transformation, you can start to see how those elements might need to shift or adapt
Gotcha.
to really make it in a digital world.
So it's not just like a static picture of your business.
No, not at all.
It's like a tool to think through how this digital transformation could, like, reshape your whole approach.
Exactly. And then you've got the balanced scorecard model, which can be used to actually translate those strategic objectives into concrete, measurable goals, you know? So you're not just saying, we want to be more digital.
Yeah.
You're actually laying out what that looks like in terms of specific outcomes, you know?
Makes sense.
Increased customer engagement or faster product development cycles, things like that.
Right. You need those, like, tangible targets to aim for.
You got it.
And speaking of figuring out where you stand, they also talk about this organization gap analysis.
Oh, yeah.
Is that about, like, taking stock of your current capabilities?
Exactly. It's all about figuring out the areas where your organization might be falling short.
Okay.
Maybe your workforce needs upskilling.
Oh.
Maybe you need to invest in some new technologies. Or maybe you even need to, like, revamp some internal processes.
It's like checking if you've got enough life jackets and supplies before you set sail.
The gap analysis helps you find those potential weaknesses, those things that could, like, totally derail your digital transformation.
Okay, so we've got our destination in mind. We've mapped out the journey using these visual tools.
Right.
And we've taken stock of our supplies with that gap analysis. But then comes the question of how we're actually going to navigate all of this.
Right.
And the article talks about these different navigation tools, which I'm guessing means project management methodologies.
You got it. And this is where things get interesting.
Okay.
The article says that traditional waterfall project management, you know, that style, it might not be the best fit for all the uncertainty of digital transformation.
Because with waterfall, you're kind of locked into a rigid plan.
Totally.
Right.
And in the digital world, things change so quickly that you got to be able to adapt on the fly.
Exactly. That's why they highlight agile methodology.
Exactly.
Like Scrum and Kanban.
Yeah.
These approaches are all about breaking projects down into smaller bits, embracing this iterative development, and prioritizing being flexible.
Absolutely.
So instead of trying to build the entire ship all at once, you're building it in smaller sections, testing it out along the way, and making adjustments as you need to.
It's a great way to put it.
Agile lets you respond to those, like, unexpected storms and course corrections that just pop up during digital transformation.
100%.
Okay, so Agile seems like a good fit for dealing with all this uncertainty.
Yeah.
But the article also mentions that a hybrid approach might be needed sometimes.
Right.
You know, blending Agile with some of those more traditional methods.
Yeah.
When would that be the case?
That's a good question. They suggest thinking about a hybrid approach for those really big projects or for organizations that are in these highly regulated industries.
I see.
Like, for example, let's say you're a financial institution
Right.
and you're going through a massive digital transformation.
Yeah.
You might need a more structured approach to make sure you're playing by the rules with all those regulations.
You're saying that while Agile is great for flexibility,
Yeah.
sometimes you need that strong governance
We got it.
that those traditional methods provide.
It's all about finding that sweet spot
Right.
for your organization and the context of your transformation. You know?
That makes sense.
There's no one-size-fits-all solution here.
No magic bullet.
Right.
All right, so we've talked about setting a clear vision and picking the right navigation tools.
Yeah.
But any seasoned captain will tell you that even the best laid plans can go sideways.
Oh, yeah.
What does the article say about managing risks during digital transformation?
Right.
Because it feels like there are a lot of potential storms brewing out there.
You're not wrong. Digital transformation is inherently risky.
Yeah.
You're dealing with these new technologies, constantly changing customer expectations, a competitive landscape that's always evolving.
Yeah.
It's a lot to handle.
It is.
The article is very clear that proactive risk management,
Okay.
it's not optional. It's absolutely crucial.
So what are some of the key strategies they recommend for, like, battening down the hatches, so to speak?
Well, they really emphasize doing a thorough risk assessment.
Okay.
This might involve using something like a SWOT analysis.
Right.
To figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats.
Gotcha.
And if you're in a regulated industry, compliance audits are super important.
Yeah. You don't want to get caught in a regulatory hurricane.
Exactly. You got to make sure you're not going to run aground on any legal issues.
So it's all about spotting those potential risks early on.
Yes.
And having a plan to deal with them.
Exactly.
But what about those unexpected storms?
Right.
The ones that seem to come out of nowhere. How do you stay agile and responsive in those situations?
That's where those agile methodologies we were talking about come in handy, because they're all about continuous monitoring and adaptation.
Right.
They can help you spot and respond to risks as they pop up.
It's like having a radar system that alerts you to storms on the horizon.
Exactly. And the article also stresses having a solid governance structure in place with regular risk reviews and a clear process for making decisions.
Right. You can't have everyone running around like chickens with their heads cut off when a storm hits.
Exactly. You need a clear chain of command and a plan for dealing with those unexpected challenges.
That makes total sense.
And this actually leads us to one of the most interesting ideas in the article.
Okay.
The concept of a belief audit.
Okay, now that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
We're auditing our beliefs now.
We are.
What does that even mean?
It's about stepping back for a second
Okay.
and examining all those deep-seated assumptions that might be driving decisions in the organization.
So it's like before we even start charting our course, we need to check our compass and make sure it's pointing us in the right direction.
That's a great way to put it. The belief audit helps you uncover those hidden biases and those outdated ways of thinking that might be holding you back.
Yeah, I can already see how this could be useful.
Right.
We might be hanging on to beliefs about our industry or our customers that just don't apply in this digital age anymore.
Exactly. It's all about challenging the status quo and making sure that your decisions are based on a clear view of what's really happening now and what could happen in the future.
It's like taking off those rose-colored glasses and seeing the world for what it truly is.
100%.
With all its challenges and opportunities.
Exactly.
So this is really fascinating stuff.
It is, and it directly relates to the need for adaptability.
Right.
And a willingness to embrace change.
Yeah.
Which are both so important in a digital transformation.
I love how this article is mixing strategic planning with a bit of self-reflection. It's not just about the tech.
Yeah.
It's about the people and how they think.
Exactly.
Speaking of people, the article also talks a lot about resource allocation.
Oh, yeah. Because you can have the best ship in the world.
Right.
But without the right crew and supplies, you won't get very far.
So how do we make sure we're not setting sail with a leaky boat in an empty pantry?
Well, the article recommends figuring out and securing the resources you'll need early on.
Okay.
And they suggest using things like zero-based budgeting and cash flow analysis.
Right. Now, I've heard of zero-based budgeting.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it always sounded kind of scary.
I hear you.
Is that where you basically start from scratch every time you make a budget?
That's exactly it.
Wow. I can see how that would be helpful to make sure your resources are really lined up with your goals.
Right.
But it also sounds like a ton of work.
It can be, but it's definitely worth it.
Okay.
Especially when you're doing something like a digital transformation where you're basically going into uncharted territory.
Right.
Zero-based budgeting makes you justify every single expense, which can help you avoid unnecessary spending and make sure every dollar is being used strategically.
So it's like you're not just carrying over stuff from old budgets.
Right.
You're making sure everything you're bringing on board is actually essential for the journey ahead.
Exactly. And then you've got cash flow analysis, which is all about understanding how money is flowing in and out throughout the project.
Yeah.
This is super important for digital transformation projects because they often have unpredictable timelines and costs.
So it's like having a financial forecast.
Exactly.
That helps you spot potential problems and make sure you have enough cash to deal with them.
You got it. Cash flow analysis can help you spot potential shortfalls, adjust your budget if you need to, and make sure you have the financial resources to keep going.
Okay, so we've talked about budgeting.
Yeah.
But what about the people side of resource allocation? How do you make sure you have the right team in place?
That's a crucial part. And the article really stresses having people with the right skills and clear roles.
Yeah.
You need a team that can handle the technical, the strategic, and even the cultural complexities of digital transformation.
Sounds like you need a pretty diverse crew.
Oh, yeah.
With a mix of technical expertise, project management skills, communication skills, and the ability to embrace change.
You got it. You might need data analysts to understand the data developers, to build new systems, marketers to connect with customers in new ways, and change management experts to guide the organization through the whole transition.
Finding all those people sounds like a challenge.
It can be, and the article acknowledges that it might involve hiring new people, training your current employees, or even moving people into different roles.
So it's like recognizing you might need to bring in some new sailors with specific skills. Yeah. But you also need to make sure your current crew can handle the challenges of this new voyage.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about being agile in our project management?
Yes.
Well, that applies to resource allocation too.
I see.
You got to be flexible and willing to adapt your team and your budget as things change.
It's like realizing you might need to change course mid-voyage.
Yeah.
And adjust your supplies as you go.
A great way to put it. And the article also talks about the importance of constantly monitoring and evaluating things throughout the whole digital transformation.
Okay.
It's not enough to just set a plan in motion and hope for the best.
Right.
You need to keep track of your progress.
Yeah.
Identify any roadblocks and make changes as you go.
So being agile isn't just about development.
Exactly.
It's about how you manage resources too.
And that's where the project management office, or PMO, comes in.
Okay.
They're basically the central hub, overseeing everything and making sure the whole digital transformation stays on track.
So they're like the air traffic controllers of the digital world.
Exactly. They're the ones who manage resources across different projects.
Right.
They enforce the rules, monitor risks, and track progress against those key performance indicators we talked about.
It's like a pretty tough job.
It is, but it's absolutely essential to make sure a digital transformation is successful.
Okay.
The PMO helps keep everything in line with the organization's big goals and make sure everyone is working together effectively.
So they're not just managing tasks, they're managing complexity.
Precisely.
Right.
And that's especially important in digital transformations where there are so many things happening at once.
Right. And so much potential for things to get disrupted.
Exactly. They also play a big role in communication, making sure everyone knows what's going on, about the progress, the challenges, and any changes in direction.
It's like they're the captain of the ship, keeping the crew informed and motivated.
That's a great way to think about it. Now we've talked about setting clear goals, choosing the right project management style, managing risks, allocating resources wisely, and making the most of the PMO.
Okay.
But the article also really highlights the importance of something called a belief audit.
Right. We touched on that earlier.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the most fascinating parts of the article.
Okay.
It really gets to the heart of what it means to embrace digital transformation, both personally and as an organization.
We talked about how it involves challenging those deep-rooted assumptions and beliefs that can actually hold an organization back.
Exactly.
Can you give me like a real-world example of what that might look like?
Sure. Let's say you've got a company that's been doing really well for years by selling its products the traditional way through retail stores.
Right.
They might really believe that physical stores are the only way to truly connect with customers.
Okay.
But in today's world, where everyone is shopping online, that belief could really hurt their growth.
It's like saying, we'll always need a physical store, even though everyone's shopping online.
Exactly. A belief audit would encourage them to question that assumption.
I see.
And explore things like e-commerce and digital marketing.
Yeah.
It might feel uncomfortable at first.
Right.
But it could open up all sorts of new possibilities for growth and innovation.
I'm starting to see how this belief audit can really drive cultural change.
It can.
It's not about forcing people to abandon their beliefs.
No.
It's about creating a space where those beliefs can be examined, challenged, and maybe even reshaped.
It's all about fostering adaptability and innovation, which are essential for navigating this constantly changing digital landscape.
You know, it's interesting. The article mentions that a belief audit can help organizations become more adaptable to change.
That's a key point. When you challenge those limiting beliefs, you create space for new ideas, new perspectives, and new possibilities. You become less resistant to change and more open to exploring different ways forward.
I think that's a really important message.
It is.
Especially when it comes to digital transformation.
Yeah.
It's not just about using new technologies. It's about being willing to change how you think.
You got it. It's about embracing uncertainty. Seeing it as a chance to grow rather than something to be afraid of.
I'm starting to see how this belief audit could be helpful not just for organizations, but for individuals too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all have beliefs and assumptions that might be holding us back in some way.
That's a question we should all be asking ourselves.
Okay.
What are those unexamined beliefs that might be shaping our decisions, our actions, and ultimately our success?
It's a powerful question, and it makes me realize that personal transformation is just as important as digital transformation.
They go hand in hand.
Right.
If we want to navigate the challenges and opportunities of this digital age, we need to be ready to adapt and evolve, both as individuals and as organizations.
I think that's a really important takeaway from this deep dive.
It is.
It's not just about the technology.
No.
It's about people.
Yeah.
And how we approach change.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture that embraces innovation, encourages experimentation, and rewards those who are willing to step outside their comfort zones.
I'm really seeing how this belief audit can be a powerful tool to drive that kind of cultural change.
It can. It's like clearing out the cobwebs and making space for something new and exciting to emerge.
And that's what digital transformation is all about, right?
Exactly.
Embracing new technologies, new ways of working, and new ways of thinking.
It's a journey of discovery for both the organization and the people within it.
It's a journey that takes courage, adaptability, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
100%. But with the right mindset and the right tools, it can lead to incredible growth, innovation, and success.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today. We talked about setting clear goals, choosing the right project management style, managing risks, allocating resources wisely, making the most of the PMO, and even auditing our beliefs.
Exactly.
I feel like we've really unpacked the complexity of digital transformation.
We have.
And highlighted the key strategies for navigating this uncertain world.
And through all of that, the key takeaway is that navigating uncertainty and digital transformation requires a blend of planning adaptability and a willingness to challenge those assumptions.
It's about embracing change, seeing it as an opportunity, not a threat.
That's it.
It's about creating a culture of continuous learning and innovation.
Absolutely.
It's about being brave enough to question everything, even our most deeply held beliefs.
And in the end, it's about using digital transformation as a way to grow, both for the organization and for the people in it.
This has been a really insightful deep dive.
Yeah.
I'm feeling inspired to try some of these things in my own work and life.
That's great to hear. And I think that's a perfect lead-in to what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll be moving from the theory to the practical, looking at real-world examples of organizations that have successfully done digital transformations and the lessons they learned along the way.
That sounds really interesting.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear those stories and see how these ideas work in the real world.
Me too.
So to our listeners, we'll be back in a moment to continue exploring digital transformation.
See you soon. It's really interesting how the article talks about digital transformation as more than just a tech thing,
Right.
It really focuses on the people, the need to adapt not just our systems, but our thinking too.
That brings us back to that belief audit we talked about.
Yes.
I'm really curious about this idea of like auditing our thoughts.
Yeah.
It almost feels like mental decluttering, to make room for new ideas.
That's a great analogy. Think about it. We all have these like deeply held beliefs about how things work, about what's possible,
right,
about our own limits even.
Yeah.
And in a time when everything's changing so fast,
right,
those beliefs can become like anchors,
Okay.
holding us back from really embracing what digital transformation can do.
So the belief audit is about bringing those hidden assumptions to the surface.
Exactly.
And asking, are these beliefs helping us get where we want to go?
Yeah.
Or are they leading us astray?
That's a great way to put it. And what I find really powerful about this idea is that it shifts the focus from outside stuff to inside stuff.
Okay.
It's not just about adapting to new technology or market forces.
Right.
It's about adapting our own mindset.
I see. Can you give me some examples of beliefs that might need to be re-examined, in the context of digital transformation?
One common belief is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And that can really hold you back in a digital world.
Yeah.
Where not moving forward is basically moving backward.
It's like saying, we're happy with our horse and buggy. We don't need one of those newfangled automobiles.
Exactly. Another limiting belief might be, we've always done it this way.
Okay.
Which can stifle creativity and prevent teams from exploring new approaches.
So it's not just about whether something's broken.
Right.
It's about asking if there might be a better way.
Exactly.
A more efficient way.
Yes.
More innovative way of doing things.
And another belief that often needs a reality check is the idea that digital transformation is just an IT thing. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, it affects every part of an organization.
Right.
From marketing and sales to customer service and operations.
It's like saying only the engine room needs to be modernized.
Exactly.
While the rest of the ship can stay the same.
Digital transformation needs a company-wide shift in mindset and culture.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be on board for it to work.
So we've identified some beliefs that might need a closer look.
We have.
But how do you actually do this belief audit? It seems kind of abstract.
Well, the article suggests starting with open and honest conversations across the organization.
Right.
This could be through workshops, surveys, or even just informal chats among teams.
Okay.
The important thing is to create a safe space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and challenging those existing assumptions.
Sounds like it takes a culture of trust and transparency.
Absolutely. People need to feel like they can speak their minds without being judged or penalized.
Right. The goal isn't to blame anyone.
What?
It's to work together to find and address any beliefs that might be holding us back.
Exactly.
I can see how this could be really powerful.
It is.
Not just for individual growth, but for creating a more innovative and adaptable culture across the organization.
It's about moving from this is how we've always done it to how can we do this better.
It's like shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Exactly.
Embracing the idea that there's always room for improvement. And innovation.
And this links back to one of the main principles of agile continuous improvement.
It seems like the belief audit could really help with that continuous improvement.
It can.
Helping organizations overcome those internal roadblocks that might be preventing them from reaching their full potential.
It's about recognizing that transformation isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process.
So the belief audit isn't just a checkup.
No.
It's a way to build self-awareness and adaptability.
It's about creating an environment where people are encouraged to challenge assumptions, to experiment with new approaches, and to learn from both their successes and failures.
We've talked a lot about mindset and strategy.
We have.
But at the end of the day, digital transformation needs resources.
It does.
How do organizations make sure they have the right people, the right technology, and the right budget to make this journey a success?
You're right, and that's where effective resource allocation comes in. The article stresses that it's not just about throwing money at the problem. It's about being smart and making sure every dollar counts.
I imagine that can be tough.
It can.
Especially for organizations that might have limited budgets or are unsure about what the future holds.
That's why the article recommends being proactive and disciplined when it comes to resource allocation.
All right.
They specifically mention zero-based budgeting and cash flow analysis.
We talked about zero-based budgeting a bit earlier.
We did.
But I'd love to dig a little deeper. It sounds like a great way to make sure your resources are really aligned with your priorities.
It is.
But it also sounds potentially time-consuming.
It can be, but it's basically building your budget from scratch.
Okay.
Instead of just rolling over numbers from the previous year,
I see.
it forces you to really think about every expense and justify why it's in the budget.
So it's like saying, we're not just assuming that what we spent money on last year is still important this year.
Exactly. With zero-based budgeting, you're starting fresh and asking, what are we trying to achieve with this digital transformation? And what do we need to make it happen?
So you're prioritizing your spending.
Yes.
And making sure every dollar is being used strategically.
Precisely. I can see how that would be especially helpful with digital transformations where you might be investing in new technologies, new skills, or even new ways of working. And then there's cash flow analysis, which is all about understanding the money coming in and the money going out throughout the project. This is really important for digital transformations because the timelines and costs can be unpredictable.
So it's like having a financial forecast that helps you see potential problems.
Yes.
And make sure you have enough cash to handle them.
Cash flow analysis can help you spot potential shortfalls, make adjustments to your budget if you need to, and basically make sure you have the financial resources to keep going.
All right, so we've talked about budgeting.
Right.
But what about the people side of things?
Yeah.
How do organizations make sure they have the right team?
That's crucial, and the article emphasizes having people with the right skills and clear roles.
Right.
You need a team that can handle all the complexities of digital transformation.
Right. Like the technical stuff, the strategic stuff, even the
Yeah,
cultural stuff.
Exactly. You might need data analysts, developers, marketers, change management experts.
Wow, finding all those people sounds like a challenge.
It can be, and the article says it might involve hiring new people, training existing employees, or even moving people into different roles.
So it's about recognizing that you might need to bring in some specialists. But you also need to make sure your current team is ready for this new challenge.
And remember how we talked about being agile in our project management?
Right.
Well, that applies to resource allocation too. You need to be flexible and willing to adjust your team and budget as things change.
It's like realizing you might need to change course mid-voyage.
Exactly.
And adjust your supplies accordingly.
A great way to think about it. And the article also highlights the importance of continuous monitoring and evaluation throughout the whole digital transformation journey.
So it's not enough to just set a plan in motion.
No.
You need to track your progress, identify any roadblocks,
Right.
and make changes as you go.
So being agile isn't just about development.
Exactly.
It's about how you manage resources, too.
Precisely. And that's where the project management office or PMO is so important. They act as a central hub overseeing everything and making sure the digital transformation stays on track.
So they're like the air traffic controllers of the digital world.
That's a good analogy. They're responsible for managing resources across different projects.
Right.
They enforce the rules, monitor risks.
And track progress against those key performance indicators we talked about.
Sounds like a demanding job.
It is, but it's crucial for digital transformation success.
Okay.
The PMO makes sure the project stays aligned with the organization's overall goals and that everyone is working together effectively.
So they're not just managing tasks, they're managing complexity.
Exactly. And that's especially important in digital transformation, where there are so many moving parts and so much potential for disruption. They also play a key role in communication, making sure everyone is in the loop about progress challenges and changes in direction.
So they're like the captain keeping the crew informed and motivated.
That's a great way to put it. Now, we've talked about setting clear objectives, choosing the right project management approach, managing risks, allocating resources wisely, and using the PMO effectively. But the article also stresses the importance of something called a belief audit.
Right. We touched on that earlier.
We did, and I think it's one of the most fascinating parts of the article.
It really gets to the heart of what it means to embrace digital transformation.
Yes.
Both personally and as an organization.
Exactly. We talked about how it involves challenging those ingrained assumptions and beliefs that can hold an organization back.
Right. Can you give me an example of what that might look like in practice?
Sure. Let's imagine a company that's been successful for years selling through traditional retail channels. They might have this deep belief that physical stores are the only way to really connect with customers. But in a world where everyone is shopping online,
Right.
that belief could really limit their growth.
It's like saying, we'll always need a physical storefront even though everyone is shopping online.
Exactly. The belief audit would push them to question that assumption and explore things like e-commerce and digital marketing.
Right.
It might be uncomfortable at first,
Yeah.
but it could open up a whole new world of growth and innovation.
I'm starting to see how this belief audit can really drive cultural change.
It can. It's not about forcing people to abandon their beliefs.
No.
It's about creating a space where those beliefs can be examined, challenged, and maybe even transformed. It's about fostering a mindset of adaptability and innovation, which are essential for navigating this ever-changing digital landscape.
You know, it's interesting. The article mentions that a belief audit can help organizations become more adaptable to change.
That's a key point. When you challenge those limiting beliefs, you make room for new ideas, new perspectives, new possibilities. You become less resistant to change and more open to exploring different paths.
That's a really powerful message.
It is.
Especially in the context of digital transformation.
It's not enough to just adopt new technologies. You have to be willing to adapt your mindset, too. It's about embracing the uncertainty, seeing it as a chance to grow, not something to fear.
You know, I'm starting to think this belief audit could be valuable not just for organizations, but for individuals as well.
Absolutely. We all have beliefs and assumptions that might be holding us back in some way. That's a question we should all ask ourselves. What are those unexamined beliefs that might be influencing our decisions, our actions, and ultimately our success?
It's a powerful question. And it makes me realize that personal transformation is just as important as digital transformation.
They go hand in hand. You know, if we want to successfully navigate the challenges and opportunities of this digital age, we need to be ready to adapt and evolve, both as individuals and as organizations.
I think that's a really important takeaway from this deep dive.
It is.
It's not just about the technology.
No.
It's about the people. And how we deal with change.
It's about building a culture that embraces innovation, encourages experimentation, and rewards those who are brave enough to step outside their comfort zone.
I'm really seeing how this belief audit can be such a powerful tool.
It can.
To drive that kind of cultural change.
It's about challenging those limiting beliefs to create space for new ideas, new perspectives, new possibilities.
I like that. It's like we're clearing out the cobwebs.
Exactly.
And making room for something fresh and exciting.
And that's what digital transformation is all about, you know, embracing new technologies, new ways of working, new ways of thinking.
It's a journey of discovery.
Yes.
For both the organization and the people within it.
It's a journey that takes courage, adaptability, and a willingness to question the status quo, but with the right mindset and the right tools, it can lead to amazing growth, innovation, and success.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've talked about setting clear objectives, choosing the right project management approach, managing risks, allocating resources wisely, leveraging the PMO, and even auditing our own beliefs.
It's been a great discussion.
I feel like we've really broken down the complexity of digital transformation.
We have.
And highlighted those key strategies for navigating this uncertain world.
The key takeaway is that navigating uncertainty in digital transformation requires a mix of planning, adaptability, and a willingness to challenge those assumptions.
It's about embracing change. Seeing it as an opportunity, not a threat.
Exactly.
It's about building a culture of continuous learning and innovation.
Yes.
It's about having the courage to question everything, even our most deeply held beliefs.
And ultimately, it's about using digital transformation as a catalyst for growth for both the organization and the individuals within it.
This deep dive has been really insightful.
It has.
And I'm feeling inspired to apply some of these concepts to my own work and life.
That's great to hear. And that's a perfect transition to what we'll be discussing in the next part of our deep dive. We'll be shifting from theory to practice, looking at real-world examples of organizations that have successfully navigated digital transformation and the lessons they've learned along the way.
That sounds fascinating.
It is.
I'm eager to hear those stories and see how these ideas work in the real world.
Me too.
To our listeners, we'll be back in a bit to continue our exploration of digital transformation. Welcome back to our deep dive. into navigating all the uncertainty of digital transformation.
Yeah.
We've talked about it a lot.
We have.
From setting a clear vision to managing those risks.
Right.
And even like auditing our own beliefs.
As we wrap up, I think it's important to remember that digital transformation, it's not just about the tech, it's about using tech to create a better future.
It's about using digital tools and strategies to solve problems in the real world.
Exactly.
To improve lives.
Yes.
And to make a positive impact.
It's about using technology to bring people together, to empower individuals.
Yeah.
And to create a more sustainable and equitable society.
That's a great point. It really shifts the perspective.
It does.
From just trying to keep up with the latest tech
to
actually using these advancements for good.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
yeah,
what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I hope they feel empowered. Digital transformation can seem scary, but it's also a huge opportunity.
Right.
With the right approach, it can unlock so much potential for growth, innovation, and positive change.
Couldn't agree more. It's a journey that takes courage, adaptability,
absolutely,
and a willingness to challenge those assumptions.
Yeah, but the rewards can be incredible.
And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
That's so important.
There are resources out there, frameworks to guide you, and experts who can help.
The article we discussed today is a great place to start.
Yeah.
And there are tons of other books, articles, and online communities
dedicated to supporting organizations on their digital transformation journeys.
So to our listener, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the idea of digital transformation,
take a deep breath.
Remember what we talked about today.
Yeah.
And start by taking just one small step forward.
Before you do that, I want to leave you with a question to think about.
Okay.
What's one belief that you hold that might be stopping you from embracing change in a positive way?
Is it a fear of the unknown?
Maybe.
A reluctance to let go of the old ways of doing things?
Could be.
Or maybe a lack of confidence in your ability to adapt?
Whatever it is, I encourage you to really examine that belief.
Yeah.
Question it. Explore it.
Right.
You might be surprised by what you find.
Digital transformation is a journey of self-discovery.
It is.
Just as much as it's about organizational change.
Embrace the uncertainty, keep learning, and don't be afraid to chart your own course.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Till next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.